Moses Itauma versus Dillian Whyte will be happening very, very soon, and I just need to speak my prediction into existence just to cement it so I can say I told you so, because it is going to happen. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I think Moses Itauma is going to stop Dillian Whyte in round 4. When this fight was initially made, I thought that Itauma was going to stop Whyte early, and there have been some variables that would make you think you could change your mind, like Whyte's magnificent weight loss. Well done. Good for him. There's a difference between being fit and being fighting fit. And unfortunately, I think we're going to see a very shot Dillian Whyte. I mean, the old saying goes, you're only as good as your last fight. And if we look at Dillian Whyte's last fight 8 months ago against Ebenezer Tete, he was terrible. But we could just say, okay, let's put that down to he wasn't fit. That's just a variable. We'll go back and look at his fight before that instead. But if we keep going and going, there isn't a single version of Dillian Whyte over the recent years that I think would not just not beat Moses Itauma. I don't think they'd make this fight very competitive against Moses Itauma. So we've got the fight against Ebenezer Tete, where Whyte was terrible. So let's go back to the fight before that against Christian Hammer. That version of Whyte was horrendous. He was still, not to be nasty, he was still a pretty fat mess at that point. So let's go before that. The Whyte against Jermaine Franklin, which again, that version of Whyte would get destroyed by this version of Moses Itauma. So let's go back before that. And we've got the Tyson Fury fight. He was terrible. He looked awful in that fight. He would also have lost against Itauma if that version of Whyte was fighting tonight. And then we've got the second Povetkin fight, which that's a bit of a variable. He didn't look bad in that fight. It's unfair for me to say that. But Povetkin also was sick as a dog there. He had COVID. It was very obvious he had COVID. He looked like he was drunk. So I don't think that one is a variable which I'm going to put to the side. I can't confirm that was Whyte looking bad, because that's not fair. But before that, you've got the first Povetkin fight. We all know the knockout. Possibly one of my favourite knockouts of all time. It was just an absolute peach. And then before that, you've got the Marius Vac fight. That version of Whyte would also get destroyed by Itauma. He was also a pretty fat mess in that. 271 pounds fat mess. His career heaviest, I'm pretty sure. And then against Oscar Rivas, we don't know how good Oscar Rivas is. He doesn't really have any big wins to his name. That could, in hindsight, be a very good win for Whyte, but we don't really know. And then before that, we've got the second Derek Chisora fight. I think he was losing on points to Chisora. The same Chisora that was offered $2 million to fight Itauma, and he was like, no. Absolutely know what? I don't want that as my 50th fight. I'm avoiding it at all costs. That version of Whyte would also get destroyed by Moses Itauma. It's all my opinion, of course. And then we get to the Joseph Parker fight, which, if that fight went one round longer, Parker probably would have won. But I still think Whyte actually looked good in that fight. And that is the most recent version of Whyte that I think might stand a chance against Itauma. I just don't see how it's possible for Whyte to roll back. That was 7 years ago. That was 2018, the Parker fight. There's no way that Dillian Whyte is going to be able to roll back the years, 7 years, and pull out a terrific performance to stop or to beat Moses Itauma. It's just not happening. I mean, I understand the argument that Moses Itauma hasn't been tested. He hasn't had his chin checked. He hasn't fought anyone good, which I get that. But he also passes what, if you watch football, there's something called the eye test that gets spoken about a lot, and Moses Itauma passes the eye test. He is beautiful to watch. It is a pleasure to watch. He really is. He's fast, athletic. His footwork is incredible. People say, what would happen if Jai Opetaia decided to move up to heavyweight? And we're essentially seeing that with Moses Itauma right now, but on a better scale. He is going to be better suited. He is 245 pounds of just absolute mass. He looks like he should weigh about 200 pounds. I don't know how he weighs as much as he does. He moves. I know we all say that Alexander Usyk is a blown up middleweight. He moves like a middleweight. He doesn't. He moves. He still moves like a decent cruiserweight at heavyweight, but just in comparison to all the big heavyweights, the maneuverability of them is just pretty poor. Moses Itauma is a genetic freak, essentially. There isn't a single attribute that I'd favour Whyte in for this fight. Itauma has better hand speed, footwork, boxing ability, boxing IQ in general. I think he is just an all-round better boxer. The only thing that you would favour to Whyte in this fight is experience. But at what point does experience start to become just miles on the clock? Because Whyte is, I was going to say he's on the fringe, but I think he's actually over it. I think he just has too many miles on the clock. He's had hard fights against Chisora, had a hard fight against Parker, hard fight against Oscar Rivas. I think Itauma is just going to be too young, too fast, too fresh, and I think it's going to be a pretty early stoppage. And I think we're going to see a very sorry version of Dillian Whyte. I was going to say it's going to be a shame, but people seem to be brushing the 2 failed drugs tests. I think might be 3. I think he had 1 very early in his career. People seem to be just forgetting the failed drugs test for Whyte and be like, yeah, he's so amazing. He's such a great character for the sport. He's a great character, but I kind of just see him as more so the villain, Dylan the villain. But maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me being cynical. I want Itauma to win. I want him to fight the winner of Adelaide Hrgovic, which, let's face it, it's going to be Hrgovic, because I'm not going to turn this into a full card prediction video, but I don't see a way in which Hrgovic loses. So I would like to see him fight Hrgovic or a Bacoli after this fight once he does stop Dillian Whyte in the 4th. I'm going to make an absolute fool of myself if this is wrong. But yeah, that's my prediction. Thank you for watching. Let me know who you think is going to win the winner and the round. Do the full card prediction in the comments below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.